Hey you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned, my friends are going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. And you know what this means? Splash Pages is live. We got an awesome full show scheduled for you today. And as always, the Velvet Joker is joining us. How's it going, Rich?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone.
And full house tonight. And we have Drew.
Noodles.
Drew, you're frozen.
Is he live or is he Memorex?
But there we go. Justin, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great, Leo. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Now we also have some special guests with us. We have Mark Stancil from Terminus Media. How's it going, Mark?
Hey guys, I'm doing great.
And also from Terminus, we have Daniel Hancock. How's it going, sir?
Pretty great. How you doing?
Doing great. So why don't you, either Mark or Daniel, would either of you like to introduce us to Terminus Media? Tell us all what it's about.
Sure. I'll do the little Terminus intro. We're a faith and family friendly entertainment company, and I'm in Atlanta. Daniel's in Michigan, but we work with people all over the world: Australia, the Philippines, lots of folks in the United States, and we make comics and animation and film, and so that's us.
Very cool. And you have a new book coming out, or Dominion has 2 issues out right now, and a third one's coming out soon.
That's right. Yeah, Dominion, Fall of the House of Saul. We're coming out with chapter 3. In a month or so, Daniel?
Chapter 3.
Right? Right. Awesome. Yeah, Dominion it's a comic book, and we've done chapter 1 and chapter 2.
I was just working on it moments before I jumped on here.
I think we got a little bit of a delay. Actually, hold on. I'm going to jump into here for a quick second, and hopefully everything will smooth on out. We have the trailer for Dominion. Here it is. And when we come back, we'll talk a little more about it and Terminus Media.
They are defeated. I have carried out the commands of the Almighty.
Enough! Is tribute better than obedience? Because you have rejected his command. He has rejected you!
Wait!
The Almighty has torn the dominion from you today.
Samuel!
And has given it to one who is better than you. A man after his own heart.
Samuel!
We cannot stand by while our people are under attack.
I will not be dictated to by a child.
I could save the kingdom, Mother. Would you have me do nothing?
Do not stir up your father's rage. You will tear this family apart.
Order defenses have failed!
The Philistines are coming.
Open your eyes, Jonathan. Our father is not the just king you wish him to be.
You have duties to this family, to your people.
I saw a young warrior.
Who did you see?
The spirit of the Almighty was with him.
I will not lose my throne. Dominion is mine. I am king. I am Thor.
And I got a link for Terminus in the show notes down below or up above. I believe we lost Daniel. Oh, no, he came on back.
Okay.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry.
No worries. We had a little bit of a delay issue anyway. Welcome back. Now, you said you were working on this before you came on today.
That's right. Yep, we are in the thick of it. We're working on the artwork and the dialogue and getting the last of the story structure kind of mapped out for this and finalized and polished. And it's on the way to you. So should be good.
Very cool. When should people expect issue 3?
I'm not sure what our exact date is. Should be sometime in May. So next month.
Very cool. Now, with the animation, are you going to be doing animated series along with it, or was this just for promotion?
is for promotion, but kind of a proof of concept as well. Animation is definitely something that we're hoping to move towards soon. Actually, we're just meeting about that today as well. A lot of things going on here.
Now, Daniel, you're the penciler then?
No, actually, Dr. Baron Bell is the creator of Dominion. He's the guy who made up the entire universe that you're seeing on the screen there. And he's the penciler, the primary artist for the book that you see. And then we also are working with a couple others who do inks and colors too. So I'm actually the writer behind the thing. So Baron and I work on the script together. And so, yeah, kind of writing, editing, that kind of stuff is what I work on for this.
Great. So is what you're writing, do you feel what's going from pencil to paper is being transitioned properly in a dramatic form as it's coming out on the paper?
That's the goal, right? We do the best we can to really kind of mine those stories for gold, and bring out what we're seeing in the characters' motivations and the ideas of the story. Definitely, Baron and I work very hard to make sure that the artwork is doing its job in communicating what's happening. And so a lot of it is just kind of making sure that syncs up to what we're doing with the overarching story, and that the dialogue and such kind of complements what we're seeing on the page there.
Sweet. Awesome. And what are you guys doing for distribution right now?
For distribution, we're selling the book directly on our website, terminusmedia.com. We sell it digitally, and we sell physical copies, and we typically have a special edition that we sell as well for the Uber folks who like to have limited edition comics and who are collectors. So we're selling everything directly right now and building our audience. And we've distributed books through Diamond Comic Distributors in the past and other channels. But as we build our audiences for these books, we're only selling them directly at this time.
Okay, great, awesome.
Yeah. I had a question for you guys about the name Terminus. The definition of the word Terminus is, there's a couple different ones, but one of them I thought was interesting, kind of related to the Book of Dominion, was in architecture, it could be a figure of a bust of a human or an animal. Is that where we're getting the name Terminus from?
No, the name Terminus actually comes from the name of Atlanta, where our company started about 20 years ago. The name of Atlanta, before Atlanta was Marthasville, and before that it was Terminus, because it was the terminus or the end of the rail line. The rail line didn't go any farther than Atlanta back in the day. So it was basically like Atlanta was the end of the line.
I'm learning all kinds of stuff. I had no idea that's where it came from.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. Good question.
I love that peek behind the curtain on things like this to figure out where those ideas come from, because a lot of times you can see the passion and the synergy from people who are kind of like, oh, this is here, we're here, and everything kind of came grassroots upward. So that's kind of a cool story. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we were just a bunch of screenwriters in Atlanta 20 years ago, and there was no film business in Atlanta whatsoever. There was no Marvel films. There was nothing.
Just watch.
And nobody. Exactly. All we had was this weird convention called Dragon Con, which I don't know if you guys have ever been or heard of it, but it was the only kind of out there kind of pop culture thing that we had. So we're a bunch of writers.
Oh, we've heard of it.
Exactly. We didn't live in Los Angeles or New York, so we started making comic books to sort of storyboard out our screenplays, and then we started doing animation to promote our comics, and then clients asked us to do comics and animation for them. One of our clients is CDC. We did over an hour of animation for them, and they're here in Atlanta. So yeah, it's just been a slow progression, and that key element of success, persistence, right? And so it's crazy how the film business has just grown up around us here in Atlanta. It's a great thing.
Yeah. Speaking of film, I was going to do a dorky joke saying that, do you have cannibal
Justin?
For people that don't get that reference, it's Walking Dead.
Yes. I have actually that map of Terminus,
Oh,
showing
nice.
there's like a map of Terminus from the Walking Dead show. Yeah, I love Robert Kirkman. I love his stories about, writing comics and sort of spending his last dollar, and then sort of having a panic attack on the floor of the little house he lived in, and thinking, if this comic book doesn't work, what am I going to do? Just a visceral story of again, persistence. It's a great writer.
Drew, sounded like you were trying to break in there. What were you going to say, my friend?
It's so hard. I feel like I'm on a game show. I just want to buzz in to get the right answer. What I was saying is just watch now for Justin's answer. He's going to say that instead, because it's just going to sound, yes, he's got the sentimental wonderfulness, but he's going to be, no, we're going to go with the clever answer. It makes this sound really top notch, very, up and coming, very, on the nose. No, but the question I had is, as always, working in comics, everybody had the first, something that the first book they ever read that really captured their attention, kind of introduced them to the medium. And I guess in some cases, whether it was nerds like us who ended up podcasting, or, guys like you who ended up, forming our own company and creating your own material, what was your intro to comics, and how did it kind of set you on this path?
Well, my very first intro to comics was reading, when I was a kid, they had the Sunday paper, which was full color comics. And I loved the weird little Wizard of Id, and The Far Side was there, and Barney, Beetle Bailey was there, and Sarge and everything. And I would always rush home, after my parents drug me to church, and grab the funny papers and read it. It was free, and it was fun, and it was great. But my experience with comic books didn't actually come till I was in college. And, you get all these books that you're assigned to read in college that just pound your brain with stuff. And I wanted to read something that sort of let my brain decompress and expand. So there was this rich kid, David, down the hall, who would buy, a huge stack of comics every week on New Comic Book Day. And he would bring them back to the dorm. And I was like, hey, man, which all of us poor kids do, right? We say, when you're done with those comics, can maybe I read them? And it was comics like Spawn #1 and X-Men back in the early 90s. And it was so different and so great. It's like, I don't remember comics being this good.
Yes, there was a time. And Daniel, what about you?
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of interesting. It was really more comic book movies. I wasn't a big comic book fan as a kid. I mean, I read them here and there, and I definitely enjoyed, pretending to be Batman, Superman, and all that kind of stuff. But wasn't into the books. Didn't really know anybody who had a lot of comic books. But when the new movies started coming out, and they, even the older ones, like the original Superman and the Michael Keaton Batman, these were where I kind of engaged with those to begin with. And so it's kind of fitting. I'm into that kind of stuff now. I've tried to take some of the qualities that they've brought to some of the newer renditions, like the Nolan series and all of the Avengers movies and such, and bring that into my own work. Kind of accessing that action, epic, fun, but at the same time, kind of telling a deeper story as well. So I really admired those, and I kind of fell into comic books here recently with these guys, more from the writing end. I produced an audio drama last year. And they actually approached me from Terminus and said, hey, we would like to turn our Dominion series into an audio project. And so I came on to produce that. And in the meantime, basically, as we began to examine that possibility, I came across things in the story and such, and said, why don't we go in this direction, or adapt this or change that? And then we said, why don't we just write the books that way in the first place? And so so I started working with Baron very closely on what his vision was for Dominion, and now I'm kind of weaving that story in through the future installments. So I didn't know that I was going to be a comic book writer or work on this kind of stuff, but I'm having a great time doing it for sure.
Hey, we totally get it because we didn't think us guys reading those, as our viewer called it, the poor kid comics, or talking down at the shop, or at cons. We didn't think, hey, one day someone's going to let us, give us the technology to just sit here on Tuesday and talk about comics, and somehow people care. So,
by the way,
get it.
you guys
We never
have a
thought we'd be
great
here,
intro.
but here we are.
Yeah, right. But that was an AC/DC song. I'm like, what?
every time.
Then the video from Tron comes on, and I'm like, what?
If you think that's good, wait till you see the next one. There's this artist in the UK that's working on the intro. That's oh my god, he has like Wolverine jumping out of the plane and Mario throwing Koopa, Batman punching Koopa. It's just a riot.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah. Why do you think there's such a delay? We put all our money in the intro.
Well, you converted me to a viewer. I'm going to have to check the show out. I'd never seen the Dorkening before, but watching that, I was like, holy smokes, this is sweet.
No, these guys aren't messing around.
No. I was like, that Nintendo stuff came up. I was like, I'm going to be on that show? This is awesome.
We try.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Yes, we do.
I had a question for you about the story of Dominion there. A lot of folks may not be familiar with this. I was, because I actually started reading this and I'm like, these cities sound familiar. And then there's the Philistines and all that. And this is very much a story involving the Ark of the Covenant, which I think most people's main exposure to that is probably Indiana Jones' Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Totally.
Yep.
I think it's interesting to find a way to kind of exploit things that people are familiar with. Have you had any nods or anything like that to other pop culture references in there, like Indiana Jones or anything else? Like maybe there's something that comes up with snakes or something. It's like, it had to be snakes, Any Easter eggs we should be looking for?
I think the closest we've come is, a few little bits toward Star Wars and things like that at the moment. But we are just getting started. We have a whole series of books planned out, and we're planning to continue the story and really deepen it. And in fact, I was just talking with Baron the other day about where I want to bring the Ark of the Covenant into the story, because it does appear in Saul's timeline in the biblical text that we're using as our inspiration for the Ark here. And so, I have some pretty neat ideas that we should be seeing in the future installments.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, it is going to be interesting. When Baron originally pitched this story to me, I'm a kid who grew up in the 80s. So, I grew up coming home from school and watching Voltron and watching Thundercats and stuff. So he's like, Mark, I want to do the story of Saul in 1 Samuel, but I want to make all the characters, anthropomorphic lions. And some characters are gorillas and crows and rhinoceros and tigers. And I'm like, hey, you had me at like lions in space, man. I'm good. Let's go with it. So it's been interesting to see this story come into shape. And if you do know the story of the Ark of the Covenant and the Philistines, it's a funny thing. But every time they steal that Ark, man, boils start to pop up on their skin. Because that supernatural force, which we call the Almighty in the Dominion story, he doesn't like it when the Ark goes somewhere where it's not supposed to go. And so, those Philistines, which in the Dominion story are reptiles, they're crocodiles and snapping turtles and other various mecha-shaped reptilian creatures. You see them take some punishment for stealing the Ark and for going up against the soldiers of Dominion, which have advanced technology, and Dominion isn't a bunch of towns and cities like in the 1 Samuel story. It's an interplanetary dominion of worlds and planets. So that it's pretty interesting for a kid who grew. I'm a kid who kind of grew up in Sunday school, kind of dozing off in church and stuff.
Same.
So to be able to tell these stories in a way that's entertaining and has a great story and great characters and it's inspired by the text is pretty exciting. It's pretty fun to do.
Very cool.
God, his story was just bringing me back. I got in trouble in Bible school for suggesting that we should include dinosaurs. No, it's literally a true story. And I got hauled in, and my mother was like, "What did you say?" I said, "I just said that the Bible would be better if there were dinosaurs. I don't understand." I mean, come on, like, how cool would that be? You know, Judas and the Maccabees, he's riding a T-Rex. I was like, come on, that's 80s in general. But I got in trouble, and my mom was like, "Why only you?" And I'm like, in my defense, he did not give me a good reason why there shouldn't be. Just saying. Have you seen Land of the Lost? It can exist.
Maybe it's like homeowners insurance. They're not excluding it. You know, it could be there. They're just not excluding it. You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a Snyder cut of the Bible. So yeah, totally. Actually, I did have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Mark, you were saying.
I was going to say, you got in trouble for smart stuff. I got in trouble for when I was supposed to sing, "If you're happy and you know it, say amen." I would say mayonnaise. And so, you know, instead of amen. So,
Genius.
At least you got in trouble for smart stuff.
I don't know if it was smart. It's always kind of come off as a very me thing. But so I had a question. So for the people, because we've read some, if not all of the books, because you give us copies and whatnot. So in publishing, they always talk about the elevator pitch. You know, if you're in an elevator, you got to pitch the book, you got to do it really short. How would you do it? So for our viewers who haven't read Dominion, they've seen the dope trailer. They've heard you guys talk about it. They've definitely reconsidered Sunday school. So if you guys had to do like Daniel, if you had to do an elevator pitch for Dominion, what would it be? And then Mark, you said you're working on other projects. If there was like an elevator pitch for something that's coming up, what would it be? So that's, go.
So you got to put us on the spot like that, don't you, man?
Oh,
so Dominion. Dominion is the story of King Saul from the book of 1 Samuel in the Bible, reimagined in a fantastical world of Star Wars meets Narnia. It's the story of a family, really. Saul and his queen Ahinoam and their children, Prince Jonathan and Princess Michael, and their struggle to determine the way to lead their kingdom and to protect it from enemy forces. And so we get to see biblical war reimagined in a new and fresh way for a new generation, something like that.
I buy that for $1. Got it.
Yeah, yes. Star Wars meets Narnia, I guess you'd call it. And the other book that we're actually releasing this week is called Samson Rise, and it's based on another character in the Bible. He's kind of we're having a debate whether or not Samson is the Superman of the Bible or the Incredible Hulk of the Bible. I'm of the opinion that he's the Incredible Hulk of the Bible. So it's his story is a story of seduction and redemption. He's a guy like all of us who has strengths, but he also has weaknesses. He has physical strength and can, he killed 600 Philistine soldiers with the jawbone of a donkey. But ultimately his fall was because, he just couldn't resist a seductive woman, right? But, but the story starts at the end of his story and goes back to the beginning through his memories. But it's created by, some creators in Australia, and they have it's a very gritty telling of the story. It's not your flannel graph from Sunday school for sure. And so the art is gritty. The storytelling is excellent. And we have a trailer for that on our website as well, so folks can check that out just to get a feel for what the story is like.
Awesome.
Very cool. And we have all that information in the show notes down below or up above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And it's about that time, so we'll let you guys go. We'll start with Daniel. Where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, pretty much everywhere, though. You can find me Daniel Hancock on Facebook, or Director Daniel Hancock, and then on Instagram, I think I'm Daniel Hancock 222. You can find me there, and of course, Terminus Media has a lot of our work on there already, so you can check us out there and check out the social media for Terminus as well.
Cool beans. And same question for you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter. Just you can search my name, Mark, last name Stancil, Stancil, and Terminus Media also is on all the social platforms. So come check us out and let us know what you think. We're really interested in our audience and being excellent. So we want to know.
We'd love to hear what you think of the book too. If you get a chance to read it, please write in, tell us. You know, we like to hear people's thoughts on it.
Cool beans. Do you have like a comment section on your website, or should we just do it on social media?
Yeah, social media is great, or the contact form right there on the site. We'd love to get email from fans or from anybody with questions or suggestions, ideas. You know, we're always got open minds for that kind of stuff.
Cool beans. Don't suggest any dinosaurs, Drew.
You know what?
Why are you going to put
dinosaurs,
you know
man? You can get those in Dominion. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's nothing wrong with the Jurassic Park in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, that's literally the downfall of everything. It would be
kill them all with salt.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever. You know what? Calling me out. Fine. Let them go. Let them go. I renounce you, Leo Pond.
Much appreciated. Okay. I want to thank, we still got a ton of show coming at you. And so we're going to play our ad for Deadly Grounds, a sponsor here. They sponsor a network, a little mom and pop shop here in Connecticut. Absolutely make the best coffee you'll ever have. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about Batman meets Fortnite and also Batman Black Mirror. Thank you, Daniel and Mark, so much for joining us. And,
thank you.
Have a good night.
Talking about coffee.
Have a good night, guys.
Cool. See y'all.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
So yeah, head on over to getdeadly.com for your Deadly Grounds coffee. And, you know, I praise it too much. And that's actually why they became a sponsor, is because I buy so much damn coffee from them. But Death by Chocolate, oh my God, it's like drinking chocolate milk. It's just friggin' amazing.
You got to talk about Witch's Brew, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the cranberry coffee. So good.
I haven't tried the cranberry. I want to order the, there's a s'mores flavor.
Speaking of the coffee, why is it whenever the delay happens, I always get stuck on Leo? Like I literally had like an image of him for 2 minutes of him drinking his coffee. And I just have expected, you know, Deadly Grounds coffee. They're so good. It's sinful. And I've watched these commercials so many times. Like I literally feel when we're doing the intro, like I can literally quote. I'm like, okay, there's the comic book men. There's Lou Ferrigno doing his thing. There's Tom Kenny, and then everybody else, all these people. And I remember when we that was the second time I saw it. I was like, "There's a better one with a budget." Holy bejesus! Like
yet still no dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know what? I told you guys something personal. It's going to become a thing. I'm fine with it. I stand by what I said. Jesus fighting a velociraptor was totally one of his feats of strength.
Have you seen Velocipaster?
I was just about to say that. Have you seen Velocipaster?
Of course I have. Okay.
Drew, I thought you were taking up at a notch. Dinobots.
Boom. There you go. I mean, it was literally, there you go. Like, wonderful. But yeah, whatever. This is Splash Pages. This isn't me. I'm part of this, but let's get to what we were doing, gentlemen. Back to focus.
Well, I know we're going to talk about Black Mirror, but before we get into that, are you guys reading anything new? Enjoying, like I read the Batman Zero Fortnite one.
How was it?
It was good. It was. I thought it was going to totally suck. I thought it was just going to be like a sales pitch for like Fortnite, but it's just like Batman gets thrown into the Fortnite universe, and it's just him kicking ass, and he meets up with Catwoman. They can't talk or anything, and they know that he has no idea who he is. He just knows he can fight. It's weird. And then he knows Catwoman is like a friend or a lover, and they end up fighting back to back, like all the Fortnite people. And it was it's a good read, Well, not too much
especially. Well, the good thing about that is that Riley Brown is the artist for that, and he's truly one of the best, if not one of the greats for Deadpool. I don't know if you ever check out his stuff. He's fantastic, and he said he's one of the best because he draws Wade with a nose. That's like apparently a big deal. People don't draw him with a nose in the mask.
Really?
And I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, kind of. People forget that they have faces behind masks with like bones and structure. And I'm like, huh. I was like, fair point. But he's great. And he is also super friendly. If you ever meet him at a con, he is just pleasant. Okay, cool. Trying to think. I'm reading. I actually read. I don't know if you guys been following The Flash. I've been reading it, part of an assignment, and it was actually not bad. They're basically doing like Wally West as quantum leaping through speedsters in DC history, and it's actually been like pretty cool because he's essentially traveling through time, helping to fix the Speed Force. But every time he does, the Speed Force like ends up creating a villain for him to fight. And I'm not trying to keep bringing this here, but one of them was a Speed Force powered Velociraptor. I swear to God, I'm not trying to keep bringing this back to dinosaurs, but it just so happened in the story that there was, and it's actually pretty funny. I will also say one of the other best things is that DC has shown that in the future, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, their legacies will combine to form the Gold Beetle, who is a female, weird kind of character who's also a time traveler, who, of course, is accompanied by Skeets, who keeps reminding her that you cannot mess up the timeline, although she totally will. And honestly, it's really just nice. I've never really been a Flash fan. I mean, I've read Flash. We've all read Flash. Mark Waid Flash. But and other things. But this stuff is actually pretty entertaining, and it's just nice to see that DC's keeping up with Infinite Frontier being, one where all the stories matter again and everything is connected. And, it's nice instead of, oh, well, this isn't canonical. This is canonical. This isn't. That's too dark. This sucks. It's just, great. That's me. I'm good.
Glad to hear it.
What about you, Justin or Velvet Joker?
I've been reading a couple of Valiant books. Really looking forward to the new release of Shadow Man, which actually comes out tomorrow, written by Cullen Bunn. It's supposed to be a horror comic, is what they're pitching this as. So, whereas before it was kind of like, you're in the vein of like a Vertigo book, like John Constantine meets Swamp Thing type of thing. Now this is going to be horror. So Valiant going into that. Another Valiant book that's pretty good is called Savage, which is kind of the story of a caveman, which is really interesting. It's like a Commandee from DC would kind of be, but just on a brutal edge to it would be Savage. That's pretty fun. Has anybody been reading Strange Adventures by Tom King?
No.
So I started liking the book, and now that we're about maybe 3/4 of the way through, I'm not sure I like it anymore. Yeah, it's just and Mr. Miracle was so good, and that's the thing. It's like, all right, that was great all the way through, and now it's here. I'm like,
so it's kind of like Rebirth. I mean, he started off strong in Rebirth, but then a lot of people fell off like after the wedding.
Some of my favorite Batman stories came from that run in Rebirth, which is a hot take. But you think of stories like Double Date and the story with him, Batman and Wonder Woman that go to fight the demons. I love that story. That is like one of just the greatest single issue or double issue stories where it's like, oh yeah, they're here for 30 years and they almost fall in love. It's just really interesting.
Gentlemen, I would like to throw my hat in the ring and say that Tom King's best Batman story was his crossover with Elmer Fudd. Okay, and if you haven't read that, it is amazing because it's not just Elmer Fudd, who actually shows he's a formidable boss instead of a dumbass with a speech impediment. It's great. It's wonderful. And, I will say this, though. If you ever get to meet Tom, he's a character. He's a character. And the best was I was at C2E2, and a friend of mine told me about this panel where him and some of the guys after the con, before the panel, because one of those late panels, they went to a bar and they got drunk. So they were just at the panel later, and Tom King was gone, and he is just spilling DC secrets left and right. It's like he's the DC Tom Holland. It is just blowing out of him, and they're just doing that like, we're not going to be able to do this anymore if you don't shut the hell up. And then the next day he was fine. He just shrugged it off like a champ.
I got a similar story involving James Doohan.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, and they messed up our tickets, so they gave us tickets for like the entire weekend for like all showings, and so we literally like stayed there the entire weekend. And like James Doohan, like he disappeared for a couple sessions, and then came back utterly smashed. And he ended up he was trashing Kirk so bad, ended up singing Yiddish mining songs. it was a blast.
Did he give you the recipe or the formula for transparent aluminum?
No.
Oh, you almost had him.
So, Rich, what about you? What are you reading?
Well, honestly, Black Mirror took up all my time this week. It was long.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying it, but I did decompress yesterday, and I did a little video. I actually went back and watched the Captain America First Avenger.
Nice.
And I followed that up with the first Avengers movie.
Okay.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, if you want a little treat after tonight's show, head on to P to the Lex, and there may be something new there for you, DC related.
Dun, dun, dun.
Could be something related to Justice Society.
Justice Society.
Hey.
That was such a good run by Jeff Johns. With when he had those covers that were coming out, Alex Ross covers, Jeff Johns writing it, and you go through it, it's like Kingdom Come Superman. What? That was so great.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love about comics is like just when you have a discussion, like everybody has usually, we talk very candidly, except there's always that one person who's like, well, this sucked. I hated this. And if you like it, you're stupid. And I'm just like, okay, that's very mature. Thank you. You can go back to your grandmother's basement now. And it's just so nice because everybody's had their top favorites. Like, I agree with you, Jeff Johns. And it was funny because it was him in the beginning. It was him and James Robinson starting.
Oh, yeah.
It. So you had my boy Jack Knight as a temporary member for a bit, and that was wonderful. And then James left, and then it was just David S. Goyer, and then Jeff Johns, and then Jeff Johns was like, I got this. But my favorite still was when the entire JSA goes with Stargirl to her dentist appointment. So you've never seen just something as crazy as the entire Justice Society, who are full of just super. They're all just crowding around her, trying to make her comfortable while she gets like a cavity or like a tooth pulled. And I'm just like, this is amazing, and yet somehow wonderfully accurate. Like Friends would do this, and you're just like, beautiful, perfect.
They're just good people,
Usually.
True, but the question is, are we ever going to get that John Byrne story?
Okay. All right, hold on.
You've been teasing this story forever.
Okay, first things first. I was saving it for when we talk about Hellboy, but because somebody is an impatient little trickster, I'll tell the story. So I was... and this is, by the way, this is a story that Mr. Velvet Joker here is very jealous about, which through the time I've known him, he will periodically message me about a story I have. He's like, I'm jealous. And I'm like, but you're the Joker. And he said, I can put on an unhappy face for you, And I'm like, that's fair. So I was at 2018. I was at Boston Comic-Con. And I just happened to find out ahead of time that John Byrne is going to be there. And this is a big deal because this is John Byrne. This is Man of Steel. This is one of the co-creators in the beginning of Hellboy. This is Star Trek. This is Uncanny X-Men with Chris Claremont. This is huge.
Alpha Flight.
Thank you, Alpha Flight. And we're talking about a creator has his career is just as long as his controversy. Like he's literally, I think, one of the rock stars of comic books in a way. Like for every great thing he's done, he has pissed somebody off. And he sits there and there's like this, there's a line because other people realize it's John fucking Byrne, as Rich would have done as well. And he's got an attendant who's walking around. He's saying, it's like, okay, everybody, it's 10 a pop. It's got to be, it can't be a trade paperback. It's got to be the issue. It can't be part of a collection because apparently he has a thing about that. Fortunately, I didn't do that. So, hey, I met him. And it's so funny because, like you guys have gotten books signed by people. So, now they start writing your name on it because they don't want you to sell it. So he does that for my Man of Steel, which is fine because it's a great book and I'm not selling it because despite my feelings about Superman, it really is one of the best origin stories. He doesn't do that for Hellboy, which in my mind is so much more important because I already have it signed by Mike Mignola. So I'm like, this is huge. But he doesn't, he just, John Byrne. And I'm just like, thank you. But he was a little grumpy. He had that old man grump face going and a little small talk, but it was just like talking, done, bye. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, I met John Byrne and I took a photo of it while he was signing my books as proof. So naysayers won't be like, hey, you didn't meet John Byrne. Lies, erroneous, mentiroso. No, senor, es la verdad. And it was wonderful. And I still can't believe it happened because anytime afterwards it has been ridiculous. Like, oh, you can get something signed by John, but you got to buy this $50 book. It's just whatever. But it was super dope and it was really nice. And Rich will never let me live it down.
Yeah. Well, it's rare that he comes out.
I know. He's like a comic groundhog. You see him, it'll be 40 more years of controversy. So, but yeah, it was great. Listen, Rich, I know if you could go back in time and meet someone like Cesar Romero or Jerry Robinson, you would do it in a heartbeat.
I'm Jerry Robinson.
There you go. See,
yeah, I did it New York Comic Con, and I've always beat myself up that I cheaped out that day and I didn't have him do something. And the next year,
I felt the same way when the other guy on Preacher. It was Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. Steve Dillon was out of con. I love his work with Garth Ennis, Preacher, Punisher, all that. I just saw him there. Sitting. He didn't have a line. Just sitting there like a dude. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get him next year because I didn't bring any books for him. He dies.
Oh.
And the same thing happened with Darwin Cook, who I would love to meet. He was doing a signing at a comic shop. I could have brought so much. DC Infinite Frontier. Every cover he's ever done, gorgeous. And I was like, I'm going to go to this nerd party. Dead.
Even his stuff on like Batman Beyond and like developing that, and like before Watchmen, which is pretty underrated, but like the book that he did, The Minutemen, it was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, Darwin Cook was one of the geniuses who made modern comics into a wonderful homage to Silver Age in a way that was both effortless but really a true testament to his ability. And comics for both of them, Dylan and him as well. Every time we lose a great, comics is a little less bright. I mean, hell, even when we lost Richard Corbin, like what was it last year? That was a huge loss because who does horror comics better than Richard Corbin? I mean, come on, he was amazing. So speaking of horror, The Black Mirror.
Yeah,
that's a segue.
Totally.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
Welcome.
So I'll do my little spiel here. So Black Mirror, this is published in 2011, written by Scott Snyder, one of his first stories, and art by Jock and Francesco Francavilla. Cover price was $3.99. So channeling my inner Sofia, picture it.
Here we go.
Sicily, 2011. Barack Obama was president. The Dallas Mavericks won their first NBA championship in franchise.
Wait, Leo, slow down. Say that first thing again.
Barack Obama was president.
Oh, that feels good. Hold on.
Yes.
All right. I'm good.
Yeah.
Get our minds set, and so yeah, I'll say it again. Barack Obama was president.
We got it.
Yeah. Dallas Mavericks won their first NBA championship in franchise history, beating Miami Heat 105-95. We paid a ticket price of $7.93 to go see Captain America: The First Avenger, Fast Five, Thor, X-Men First Class, and the Green Lantern all came out that year.
Sorry. Continue.
I watched it recently. It's watchable.
There's some good parts in that movie, and I feel like people forget that. Like that scene with Toma Ray and those concentric rings of green creations, that is gorgeous.
Excuse me. There are three great things. You just named it. The second one, Michael Clark Duncan as Kilowog.
Yeah.
And I know what the third one is.
Mark Strong at Sinestro not only owned it, but it was so sad that they did the end credits and he literally becomes Sinestro. And you're like, God fucking damn it. Why isn't this better so we can get more?
Yeah.
Well, get the Sinestro War.
Yeah.
The greatest Green Lantern of all time. Canonically. Well, besides Guy, I guess.
Yep, and just like all just like all Green Lanterns, boy, does he have an ego. So
so on the boob tube, we watched Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, when it was actually good, Sons of Anarchy, 30 Rock, Parks and Rec, Always Sunny, Community, Modern Family, and Raising Hope. If you were a kid in 1985, on Saturday morning, cartoons were not a thing. And we're sorry you missed out, but you did get to watch Adventure Time, Thundercats, the reboot, Young Justice, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Archer.
Nice.
Gas cost a whopping $3.53 a gallon. Prince William and Kate Middleton said, I do. Japan is shaken up with a 9.0 earthquake and tsunami, and Hunger Games books were released. So the Batman Black Mirror is a Batman storyline featuring Dick Grayson, written by Scott Snyder, with illustrations by Jock and Francesco Francavilla, following the Imposters storyline by David Hine. It's the final arc in the original run of Detective Comics before the series was rebooted into a second volume with Faces of Death during the New 52. It begins the Snyder Batman run, which is continued into Gates and Gotham and the Court of Owls. So this storyline deals with the return of James Gordon Jr. after a long hiatus, reintroducing him into publication as a remorseless killer. His cold-blooded psychopathic tendencies are a sort of black mirror of the soul that Dick Grayson sees himself reflected in. They're completely at odds. As the son of Batman and the son of Gotham, Snyder also introduces several new characters, including the Dealer, Roadrunner, Sonya Zuko, and Tiger Shark.
Yes. So if I may make a suggestion before we proceed, I think we should definitely split this into two separate discussions within it, because I feel like we have the James Gordon Jr. section, which is definitely we have to talk about, and then the Richard Grayson side of it, because really what that is, it's a Dick Grayson story. The Black Mirror is essentially a Dick Grayson story, and then the other ones are really more of the Gordon family, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you? I feel like that's what do you guys think? That's what I kind of look at.
Now, Drew, before we actually get into the meat of this, now this is the last story in the New 52. So now at this point, Bruce, now correct me if I'm wrong, is this the point when Darkseid blasted him back in history, and they went through all these sort of Elseworlds, sort of where he was going in history? Bouncing is correct?
Well, this is actually afterwards because he would come back alive because, of course, Batman could survive that. And he decided, hey, I'm not just going to be Batman. There's going to be Batmans all over the world. So he creates Batman Incorporated, and he's going around the world setting up Batmans in every country. So thus allowing Richard Grayson to remain as Nightwing, as Batman, which personally I still feel has always been the best replacement option besides Terry McGinnis. Because Richard Grayson, I mean, come on, who else could be Batman? Who could really understand it like him? And personally, I feel like the entire run of him as Batman was handled beautifully. Whether it was Batman by Tony S. Daniel or stories like this, they really just showed that he was a great but different Batman.
Now, how long was he Batman?
He became officially Batman in the Battle of the Cowl miniseries,
2010, I think.
Yeah, and then he had the Batman and Robin by Grant Morrison with Frank Whiteley in the beginning, where it was him as Batman and then Damian as his Robin, and then that continued, and then you had that synonymous with Batman, the series, which. Yeah, that kept going, which honestly, the stories are great. I really do recommend those for fans. And that kept going till I would say issue 7. It was issue 713 for Batman. As we know, Detective Comics. This story then led to the Gates of Gotham, which then led to the New 52. And my boy Scott Snyder just kept getting better with each story. And for those who love history, Gates of Gotham was fantastic. So I do recommend that. God, I feel like I'm a walking Wikipedia of comics right now. Jesus.
We love it. We love it.
I know. I feel like I'm a Pokedex of comics. Like Rich would be like, oh, what was that? And I'm like, oh, that was that issue. And then I'm like, bam.
This was just before the New 52 era. What you were talking about, the price too, $3.99 per issue. They did something called Drawing the Line at $2.99, which I think was like a Dan Dido, or is it Didio? But I think it was his initiative where he just said, all right, we're doing this. And that was such a relief at that point, because I mean, here we are coming off of, okay, 52. I'm getting a new comic every week. Then there's Countdown. Then there's Final Crisis. And you've got, let's see, I think Flashpoint before this, but you have Blackest Night. So DC is absolutely just creaming the competition with every story that they have, in my humble opinion. But it's just like, and I could not buy enough of these books between Batman and just whatever else is going on. I mean, and then they finally did that and go into the big launch of, what was it like? I don't even know, was it like 15 to 27 different number ones of the New 52 at the time? And I think I have most of them still, but it was like, you guys are killing me. I got to pay rent.
Please, have you seen Nerds at a Convention? We don't care about money. We're
bathing.
we spend it so easily on overpriced macaroni and cheese.
Or the Ghostbusters cereal, which everybody's freaked out about.
You know what? I just don't get it. I mean, and you'd think, oh, you wouldn't have a box. I'm like, I'd rather have Ecto Cooler and Ghostbusters cereal. I'm going to be 100% honest.
You know, they released that in cans not too long ago.
And I tell you, I enjoyed every single one of them.
You mean you didn't save one for?
I have one saved, and I will never tell anybody where it is, but it's probably done now. But yeah, so because I'm not going to get lost into that containment unit. Back to the story. I mean, honestly, you couldn't have had a better creative collaborators. I mean, Jock just has that really nice style, that it's this nice unique mesh of both realistic and yet oddly cartoony-ish, kind of like a horror Darwin Cook in some way. And then you have Francesco Francavilla, who I mean, his work on Black Mirror was amazing, but he really came into his own when he was doing Afterlife with Archie. I mean, by God, did that style just nail the horror aspect, and it really did work so perfectly with the story, because it just felt like it was a mix of like a neo noir plus a horror comic, and it was wonderful. The colors and everything, it was just, in my opinion, that was everything was firing on all pistons. Because sometimes in comics there's like the writer is a little better than the artist, or the artist really shines but the story is meh. All-Star Batman and Robin.
Want some lemonade? That's terrible.
Every year I always joke about it. My girlfriend, I'm like, this is the year you're gonna read it, and she said, hell no. And I'm like, good answer. So, but I don't know. I personally thought the story was great. What did you guys think? Because I could waste another hour.
I like the latter half better than the beginning part. I was glad to see some good banter and all that from Dick as Batman, but some of the stuff for me, it's like, all right, I really enjoyed more the story of Jim Gordon and his son coming back, and how that reacted with Barbara, and just how they incorporated everybody into this. Like even Bullock is in on this, and it's such a huge just juxtaposition of what you normally get, and it was just such a good detective comics. It reminded me a lot of like the backup stories that they've had, and the action's good. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of, inventing a character for like a one-off story and then he's done. Like the guy, like the dealer. I'm like, okay, where does he come from? Where does he go? Then you've got the, Cotton Eye Joe, and you've got the Roadrunner, the Roadrunner, and you've got Tiger Shark. I thought Tiger Shark was pretty interesting, kind of a compelling foil, but the others were just too like on the nose. I'm like, oh, Roadrunner, okay, he's doing this with cars. I'm like, so that stuff, it's like, okay, it is what it is. It's what you expect of it. I like the Dick Grayson Batman, and I love Tim Drake anytime I can get him. So the fact that he's just in there talking about stuff with him and going through it is great. And one thing that is interesting too is the way that Alfred interacts with Dick is so different than how he interacts with Bruce, and that was really fun to see. So, but I don't really have much else to talk about with the first part of the story. I think some of the stuff was kind of on the nose for me, like the whole idea of like, hey, we're gonna bring in a mobster, and guess whose daughter it is? It's like, oh, okay, well, you're throwing Zuko out on there, and it's kind of like this red herring, but it's not, but it is. So I definitely enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed the latter part of the story a lot more.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, I actually did enjoy the first part, especially like some of the imagery, like the whale in the just in the lobby and then the dead girl just kind of flops out as they're discussing the whale. I thought that was kind of brilliant.
Yeah, I don't remember that from William.
And some of the imagery with like Dick as Batman, just sort of hanging upside down and things that your body can't possibly do, but the way he draws it is just really cool. and also I really thought it was sort of him being going into this sort of cult type situation and being found out right away, which is not normal for Batman. So that was kind of an interesting twist, and him barely making it out alive. And I just felt like he was definitely a different character. He handled it differently than Bruce would have handled it. And I thought he did pretty well.
Yeah. It's so strange because I feel like around 2011, there was this idea that there are like super villain auctions. Because I remember they did that in the Omega Drive arc for the Punisher and Daredevil during Mark Waid's run of Daredevil. And they had that whole auction for this thing that could bring companies down to their knees. And I seem to recall there was also like a super villain one where the Punisher bought like a web shooter from like a spray Spider-Man web shooter. And even in X-Men right now, they did something like that where they're selling things the highest bidder, which also included one of Wolverine's severed hands, which of course Wolverine being in the audience, it was like, what? How many of these did I leave behind?
Many over the years.
I just really enjoy.
He's had at least 3,
Apparently,
I think.
and I just,
yeah.
And for me, I thought the best burn was when Dick calls Zuko's daughter by her real name, and then she corrects him, and he's like, "No, that's what I said," and then he just flies away. I was like, "Yeah, that's a Batman Dick move right there. Like that is some straight up Batman." Yeah, but again, what I just like is it was just nice to see somebody who's Batman, and it's not a one-off. Because in the past, Dick did fill in as Batman. I think that was like late 80s, early 90s. It was like after Nightfall kind of deal, and he was Batman for a bit. But of course, it always ends up being back to Bruce Wayne because around that time only Bruce Wayne can be Batman, kids. I'm glad they've loosened up about that now. But I mean, honestly, for 3 issues, I thought Snyder really packed in a lot of good story. It moved because, sometimes with some stories, and gentlemen, I have to be honest with you, you see this a lot in Marvel, they'll stretch something that could have easily been 3 issues into 6. And it's like, why? Just condense, but they're just like, oh, it's got to be 6 issues because we've got to properly convey the story. It's like, listen, if I wanted to watch a bunch of filler, I would tune into the CW. Okay.
Well, also, I've complained about this before, but with Marvel, you get like the first, half of the book is retelling what happened in the last one.
That is true. Yeah.
The Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
That narration style.
Forget that Marvel and DC are in it for the money.
This did remind me a little bit too about kind of like a Daredevil story a little bit with like the way that Dick moves. He reminds me a lot of Matt Murdock.
Yeah, definitely. But I got to be honest with you, like, what a great way to bring back a forgotten character of the Batman mythos. Like, I honestly had. I feel like we put so much focus on Barbara Gordon, and then there's that weird time where like, oh, she's actually James Gordon's niece. No, she's his daughter. Niece, daughter, niece. Forget it.
Weapon season, duck season.
Exactly. Gotham. I completely forgot about this kid. I mean, I loved Penguin. And crazy, and I love that James Gordon, like, who we basically look at as like the saint policeman of Gotham, he feels like he's responsible. He failed his child. That because of what happened in year 1, he caused his son to become a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
So
all the evidence is there, and he's just struggling that Barbara is so convinced that this kid is a killer and all that, and he's like, I really want to find some sort of redemption for my son. And you can see just how hard this is for everybody. And this was like just so emotionally resonating with me. And again, I like the first part, but this part really stuck out to me. And I'm like, this is just so good. And there's like these little totems that, Snyder and Jock or Francesco are throwing in here, like the little bat keychain.
Right.
And it's like, it's the silliest thing. It's like, oh yeah, this is to a chemistry set. And he's just this kid that wants to play with the chemistry set. And what did he do? He bumped off the best friend, and, Barbara's convinced of this into her adulthood, where she has been like probably researching this forever with her Oracle resources. So it's like this hot button for them, and they're just so entwined. And I thought it was such a compelling tale.
Yeah, I totally.
And the funny thing, guys?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Joe, do you talk, Liam?
No.
I was just gonna say.
Go for it, Drew. Okay. I totally agree with you guys, and I love it where at one point Barbara goes, we should bring this to Batman, and he's like, no, we're gonna keep it between blood, and I loved both the beginning and the end, but you just the kid James, just thinking about the different villains that Batman has faced, and just thinking about how scary this kid is just as a psychopath. Like Barbara wakes up with the two knives in her carotid arteries there, and you think he's gonna go into a long story, and he just whips the knife out. That's just cold as blood. Just how looking at all the different characters, like how cold is that? That's friggin' evil.
He scared away a child killer, because like he stared back at him with soulless, icy cold eyes and scared away an arsonist that was killing children. I mean, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And again, we're all people who I assume have watched enough horror movies in their lifetimes. I kind of got a little bit of a Halloween vibe while watching it. Like the kid was a Gotham Mike Myers, and his sister was Laurie, and the James kind of was the Dr. Loomis, trying to help Michael, trying to like basically stop him. And then the sister is like, no, he's fucking nuts. Like, you need to kill this guy. I know he's my brother. Shoot him in the fucking face. I gotta get that. I gotta get us that mature rating, guys.
That's a really good illusion there.
Yeah, I didn't see welcome. You just said it. You are dead on, Drew.
Yeah, it just occurred to me. I was like, it's kind of a little Halloween there. So I will say this, gentlemen, and I feel like this is because I feel like Rich has just stoically been standing in the shadows like a certain somebody in this comic. So since his favorite made a cameo, hey, Rich, how did you feel about your boy's little Hannibal Lecter moment, and how we apparently need to never touch him because even his toxins or sweat is dangerous. So take it away, Rich.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, I don't like being blamed for things I don't do. Really irritates me. Really irritates me. And, much like Hela in the Thor Ragnarok movie, even as I saw in that auction, so we're going back to the first part of the story for a second, the crowbar, I was like, that's fake. That's fake.
Yep.
I had my Hela moment. But anyway, sorry. Moving on. Toxic Skin. That was a new one for me. Pretty cool and creative. But yeah, from one insane mind to another, I really appreciate the creativity on that one. Woo-wee! Absolutely. Snyder was really reaching at my inner Joker there. That is a type of insanity that I had not thought about till reading that. And I was like, oh, that is really interesting. Just taking the chemicals and then finding things, because what he said, the feathers of the, I can't think of what the name of which bird it was. Was it a thrush?
It was ironically the bird that this guy and his wife who had cancer were going to look at the aviary as well.
Right.
And that whole tie-in, I thought that was crazy. I loved it, Drew. I thought it was brilliant. I love that I was toxic. I love being toxic to even the touch. I mean, that is a new form of insanity.
And then he wanted to get caught.
Yeah. And then there was one other moment, Rich, I wanted to ask your opinion about. The Joker, it confronts Richard Grayson as Batman, and he talks that he knows that Dick isn't Bruce. So you have that amazing awareness that the Joker, knows his enemy to the point where he can tell you're not Batman, which is something, correct me if I'm wrong, that was furtherly explored later on in Death of the Family and the New 52, which is still one of the best things Snyder and Capullo did in their wonderful run of New 52, which I'm sorry, if someone has missed out on that, you got to catch up. How did you feel about that, Rich?
How did I feel? Well, it's really interesting because, in studying the Joker over the years, he really sees himself as a mirror image of Batman. They're the same yet different. Same, different.
Right.
But yeah, he knows his every movement. He knows his body style. He knows the way he gets punched in the face by him. I mean, Joker has to know Bruce, and we see him through comics. He knows his secret identity, obviously, and he's just never going to reveal it because there's no reason to, because that would ruin all the fun. And that is a beautiful, classic cover.
So good.
Jock, yeah, it's amazing that the whole bats forming the whole top of his face and the truly twisted smile. But
and for those of you,
and I think even in this comic, I think they even write that he smells him different. He's like, oh, you smell like the bird.
Yeah, he knew he was a Robin.
Yeah, and he knows because he's fought him for years too. And yeah, very cool tie-ins. Yes, thank you for asking my opinion, Drew.
You're welcome. Just we got a clown here, so we might as well go to the circus.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a much smaller part in this storyline, but definitely effective.
Just enough, right? Just enough Joker sprinkled in there.
Yeah. I always like a little extra Joker, but we'll take it with this one.
Love that Joker.
Little arsenic there.
Lilac.
So
for everyone.
So Leo, what did you think, man? Like, because again, you keep interjecting, and we keep like, no, we're still talking, Leo. And I was like, it's kind of running the show, guys. Like, you can't diss a man who's getting bankrupt because of this. So
Well, no, I'm loving the conversation everybody's having. I just want to say for the audio listeners, the issue that Rich was referencing is the cover of 880, which is a phenomenal cover, and I own this cover, this floppy myself. Collecting back then, but yeah, it's just the utter madness of it. I love that you touched on that. It's definitely has a lot of horror elements. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I can't find any fault with it. The artwork is amazing. The storytelling, Snyder is just phenomenal at storytelling. And now I want to go back and reread, some of the New 52 after reading this. It's just absolutely.
I like that the Jock style kind of looks like Capullo too a little bit. Like there's like a similarity that they have.
It's the way that they do the shadows. It's very well, Capullo was definitely, again, the guy worked in Spawn, so he very much had that aesthetic of the flowing cape into the darkness of the shadows, whatnot, which was perfect for Snyder's horror style, because you got that real nitty gritty, kind of down to earth horror. It's not Hollywood style. It's very much 80s sweat and blood and gore. Like it's real.
It's dank. It is dank. Like the basement scene that Leo just showed there, where you see like the guy that one time bullied James Gordon, and he's like, oh yeah, he's cut into pieces in the basement. You're like, what? No, in that other scene there,
that scene was really effective.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. Like for me, it's always, for me in comics, and I don't know if you guys feel this way. For me, it's the little moments that I really admire. Like you don't even need like a speech bubble or a text box. You just have the image, and that's where I feel like that's the writer showing he has the faith in the artist to really convey this. Like Barbara Senior, which still sounds weird. In the bathtub with the Joker But it's not even that. It's just she's getting glass smiled, and it is just scary because it's got kind of a Shining feel to it, in the tub. So, yeah, look at that. Like that is.
She looks like Shelley Long. Yeah.
Yeah, she totally does, and it's just crazy. And then even then, for me, another great moment was when James Gordon finds the key. The one that Barbara's friend claimed that she had lost. That he was like, again, proving that his son had been a monster all along, and either he didn't see it or he didn't want to see it.
Yes.
And it's just like, I'm sorry, like if this ever got to be made into a film, this would be, especially if it was done right and adapted well, this story would be heartbreakingly like tragic. And I think honestly, why not?
Yeah,
because that's the thing. He was
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Angelina
Go.
Deacon says, hi, all, just woke up. Hope everyone's well. She tunes in all the time from the UK. Love seeing her in the chat room, as of everybody else. And we got some new watchers as well. So love it.
Welcome to Gotham, girl. Welcome, new people. It's nighttime in Gotham. We're rocking it. Pick up your books and read. Turn the TV off. Winning.
Cheers.
Another thing I was going to say, the interaction between Dick and Gordon, and that one time where he says, I'm just not used to you still being there when I turn around. Absolutely love it.
You see how similar it is when he's in the crime lab and when he's on the roof with the light. Like their interaction is almost identical. So it's like he pretty much knows that's Dick Grayson.
Yep.
Yeah. Because wasn't it near the end of the story? He basically was like, I know you're Batman. And that reminds me of a panel from Hush where basically Bruce confirms, he's like, listen, like, this is ridiculous. Like, Perry White is too good of a reporter to not figure out Clark Kent was Superman before everybody knew. And it's the same way, like, James Gordon is way too good of a detective to not be like, Bruce Wayne disappears a lot of times that Batman shows up. And he's all alone in a mansion. He's got a butler. He's kind of creepy. Could be Batman. Just connecting dots here. Connecting the dots. Or he's, a psychopath.
Doesn't James Jr. say something about, being within the family? It's hard to not know,
He knows a
And
lot
then
more. Yeah.
Yeah, and then James knew. He knew that Dick was Batman. Again, that's the best part, is that this guy is like us. He doesn't have superpowers. He spent some time in Arkham Asylum, just like our brick wall gentleman over there. He's one of us. He could be anybody. And that's the crazy thing. Remember at the end, they have this thing like, did he end up poisoning the kids? Like, are they going to turn into him? There's this wonderful horror ending, which is great because I feel like people forget about horror is that there is no happy ending. If you're dead, you're dead. But the survivors have to realize that the world they knew in the beginning is gone. They are now part of a new reality where they have to face the fact that they survived, and it's going to change them. And yes, they stopped James. They saved Barbara, but
spoiler.
He still, thank you. He still ended up dosing children, and we don't know. Like, did that have any effect?
Maybe.
Is it Village of the Damned? I don't know.
Maybe that's why Gotham went all to hell. Just a couple months ago, everything we're going through.
But he basically stole my idea. I mean, basically putting Smilex in the water system, and he just modified it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more of a Penguin plan, but
But Leo, I swear you're so right. Like the second he just like revealed he had just stuck 2 knives in her legs. I was like, God,
it's
damn.
It's like it's taken from a horror movie, you know, and I know we mentioned horror quite a bit, but you know, this is something that you'd see in one of those, you know, like
Was this in Child's Play where they did this with a girl in a wheelchair?
I think you're thinking of Tusk, because remember in Tusk, you know, he kept cutting off appendages to make him into the walrus, and it's like, oh, you had a spider, he bit you, I had to save your life, I cut your leg off, and I'm just like, really? Like, run. I mean, you know, as well as you can.
Did you guys pick up on that breadcrumb where you were talking about how he went and did a scared straight stint at Arkham, and he makes friends with the Joker and tips him off to go shoot Barbara? What?
Oh my
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's like, what?
No. And then he's just like, just kidding. And I'm just like, are you?
I'm like, this is some Alan Moore level crap here. I'm like, what is going on?
And it's so funny because you almost would forget it. And then suddenly you're like, wait a second. Is he saying, they're like, God damn, this kid is vicious. And it's so sad because they ended up using him a bit more throughout the time. And I apologize to anyone listening, bit spoilers, but he recently passed away in Batgirl, the Batgirl issue 50, before it closed up. And I gotta be again, he died and he framed his sister for his suicide. You know, he framed Barbara, and I was like, really? Like, so I guess to quote Rich, you know, he really did get the last laugh. You know.
But it was also interesting, the aspect where he talks about, like, he always knew that Barbara was hunting him, so he actually feared Barbara.
That's true.
Steve Jordan says, howdy, hey, Steve. And a bunch of people watching, so
howdy.
Say hi. And
howdy.
This was, you know, the issue here going towards the end where, you know, she's saying, you know, I said I thought you were different from all the other big bad Gotham villains, and because you've been so forthcoming, I'll tell you a secret. That's what always scared me about you, because I knew you were came from me there and wouldn't be a grandstanding. There wouldn't be any speeches or crazy traps with vats of acid. That's when he just rips the knife out of her femoral artery there.
Yeah, I just see you standing across the lawn holding those keys, and I'm like, what is that? Oh, you know, it's really poignant.
Steve Jordan says, we'll keep it in mind if you use a character who is not a happy camper, is going to find a way of getting revenge on some things.
Who's not the happy camper here? Because I'm thinking it's Barbara. You know.
Oh, you know, it was another great psych out. Do you remember when he first meets his dad, he makes it out that he killed the waitress and stuffed her in the toilet?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then you see the water just creeping out.
Right. And you're just like,
kidding.
Yeah, right. And then at the end, his dad is gonna, and he'd clogged the sink. I was just like, God,
you can see why the Joker likes this kid, because he has a really funny, messed up sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what it kind of also reminded me of a bit, when he was being normal-ish, kind of reminded me of that movie, The Stepfather. You know, the one where he kills his family and then he goes to another one and he's all like, oh yeah, I'm great, I'm part of a new family. And then he starts to see more of who he really is, and he starts killing people on the side and stuff. Like I wasn't surprised when I'm just like, oh yeah, my best friend, I have him in the basement. He's missing limbs. I took out an eye. Like, because I'm like, you know, I just saw our BFF Dick Grayson. He had a lot to say about you. Okay, so let's see. Operation. We're gonna go for the liver. I was like, oh boy, that is just you know, playing Operation in Charles Manson's house. That is just frightening.
Real quick, Steve Jordan says, nah, it's that dude. And true story. And Angelina says, thanks. You've ruined my life now with spoilers. Haha. Angelina, make sure you join our Splash Pages group over on the Dorkening, where we'll give you a heads up what we're reading for the week. And if you get a chance to read it, a lot of stuff is available on like DC Universe or Marvel Unlimited. And Miranda says, revenge is best served ice cold. Ha ha ha.
Okay, so one, Angelina, I do apologize because I feel like I've kind of been the spoiler king right now. But it will not stop you from appreciating this wonderful cacophony of illustrated comic books here. Second thing, someone just quoted Mr. Freeze, and it's wonderful, especially because, if you hear that line, you hear it in the Batman animated series, that is a dish best served cold.
Oh, I hear it as Arnold.
Oh, do you?
I can do that one. Hold on a second. You know what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
Everybody chill.
Great. And it's so horrible because to this day you're just like, God, that's a horrible movie. But you still can't look away. It's just a wonderful action figure selling the toy spectacle. It's just a big old after school special of what not to do in superhero comics.
Hey, Mark chimed in. Nora. And Steve says, I'm just a Gotham City firefighter. LOL.
It's funny. Batman and Robin, I would contest, is still probably better than Wonder Woman 84.
I've yet to see it, but I sometimes feel like this gentleman, and I feel like you would agree with this. I have a weird aversion when things are super popular. Like, for example, when Avatar happened, everybody was like, "Oh my God, Avatar, see it, amazing, James Cameron." And I was like, really? Because I feel like James Cameron has kind of been in a bit of a rut. Okay, his last biggest thing was about a ship that you knew it was going to sink. Okay, it's like getting upset about Lincoln when he goes to the theater. You knew what was going to happen. The same thing, the second that boat is going, you're just waving saying, oh, you people are going to fucking die. You're going to fucking die. Jesus.
Actually, my sister has a funny story about seeing Titanic in the theater. She made a joke about the ship sinking, and the people behind her got like all pissed off. Oh, spoilers!
Right. So I was watching Avatar, and people were talking about how genius it is. I was like, actually, it was genius when it was Fern Gully, when it was Dances with Wolves, when it was anything else. Because I watched 20 minutes of it. And I was good. I watched the ending and I was just like, James, you wrote Aliens. You wrote Terminator 2, which still holds up. Yet somehow Unobtainium was the best you could do. Retire.
That was pulled from a Rocky and Bullwinkle sketch. Yeah.
Angelina says, will do. Thank you. I'm only joking, mate. English banter.
Cheerio. But I just with popular stuff, I'm sorry. When someone's like, "Oh my God, it's amazing," and I'm like, "Is it really? Is it worth sitting 4 hours?" And I'm like, I'll do it, but there might be some whiskey involved. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's the same thing. Wonder Woman. I was like, everybody either loved it or hated it, and I'm just like, well, it's not going to be worse than Catwoman, so I think we're going to be fine.
Leo, did you love Wonder Woman 84? I know you like things.
It was watchable. It was it was definitely missing something. And I realized what that was other than, being too long of a story, it didn't have any 80s music in it,
Yeah.
You look at like Guardians of the Galaxy or something that has music of that era, and it didn't really, it needed that to tie it together, to bring you into that atmosphere and the whole, it's, I didn't love it. It was watchable. I watched it once and I don't know if I'll watch it again.
I actually have a theory about that because I feel like back before Marvel and DC made a thing, that a good superhero movie was just usually kind of luck. Like, when Batman came out, everybody was like, Mr. Mom is going to be Batman? Fuck off. No way.
The guy from Gung Ho?
Yeah, exactly. What? And I feel like some of the real gems are the ones that weren't big, DC or Marvel, like Darkman, like Mystery Man. And then it's funny because now my brain super, right? And then my brain is also thinking of all the ones that didn't make the cut. So now my brain is like, I was like, these were great. These were horrible. Howard the Duck, Steel, Barbed Wire. By the way, kids, if you want to really have a drinking game night, check out any of these movies and just go to town. Props, especially if you can watch all of Steel drunk, because there's nothing funnier than Shaq trying to be a superhero, which is sad because he's actually a fan of Steel. But God, that movie's awful.
Steve says, I've never seen Wonder Woman 84, but if you're going to do a movie, make sure the sounds of the 80s have to be a part of it.
Actually, can I just say a point here? I feel like I'm glad that we are having this. I'm kind of done with the 80s and the 90s. I want the early 2000 movies. I want when I was a teenager, I want to see The Warped Tour. I want to see Taking Back Sunday, My Chemical Romance, The Pink Spiders. I want to see people going, like I said, Warped Tour, Big D and the Kids Table, Thrice, Screamo. I want to see the death of the boy band era. And, I want to see all these things that I remember being a teenager.
Disturbed, Drowning Pool.
Exactly. Basically, when if you were really feeling emotional, you put on a Linkin Park album and you're just like, oh my God, Somewhere I Belong is really the mantra that really gets me, or Numb. I'm like, this song really touches me here.
Back when you could play a Linkin Park album and it would summon a new Transformers movie.
Hey, listen, Steve, I'm not, I love the 80s. I got the last 3 years of it. I'm just saying that, we've had so much 80s lately. Give me the 90s. Give me the early 2000s. Let's move on to some of that nostalgia. Yeah.
I'm with you, Steve, because, the 80s was my era as well. And we got the 90s with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Miranda, I feel old too because I knew nothing of what the hell he just said.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I'm like Linkin Park. I got that part.
Yeah, Linkin Park. That's about it.
That was the only. God, you know what? Can you listen? Excuse me? Can I get the orderlies? Grumpy and grumpier old comic book men need to go to their room over here.
Hey, I had issues when I was driving to work, and it was classic rock, and friggin' Green Day came on. I'm like, fuck.
You're like, wow, Longview, really?
Corn.
Corn.
What was that, Velvet?
Drew, what year were you born?
I was born in 87.
Oh my God, I graduated high school in 89.
Okay, you know what? Listen, I caught the last 3 years.
Okay, I'm just being old. I'm not doubting you for it. I envy your youth.
Huh. When was the first Batman comic released?
81 years ago.
Yeah, well, yes, but there was Detective Comics issue
27.
Right,
27.
issue. Wait, that was the 30s, right? It was 1939.
1939.
Year after Superman and the year after Wizard of Oz.
She says, "Hi, sweetheart.
I'll call you soon." Is that for you, Leo?
Not for me.
All right, we just lucked out, guys.
Crosty's love.
It's only 4 of us, so we just got a battle royale for the girl, guys. I've seen this in school. We get the gladiators. We'll get nuts. It'll be crazy.
Do you like gladiator movies, baby? Billy?
Mark says, Blade was a great movie. Wonder Woman needed Flock of Seagulls. Prince, Depeche Mode, Nirvana, Unplugged Alone. Could have been a great soundtrack for the 90s movie. For me, guys, Miranda says.
Okay. We love you too, Miranda.
And Steve says, Drew, we have tons of 90s and 2000s, but hate to say it, just a sad time. And when the movies then, besides some of the superhero shows came out then. But hey, I graduated in 88, so enjoy.
That's a good point, like Smallville. Yeah.
Yeah, Smallville was awesome.
Listen, I just want to point out it was important because when we were in high school, okay, everybody made fun of the comic book nerds wearing the shirts, knowing the names. 10, 20 years later, we're running the goddamn show. Everybody wants to be everybody, even when bros are dressing like Old Man Logan, you know we've won. But we are benevolent and we are only so petty. Okay. And so we will be fair rulers, but we will still remember that you guys are still bitches. Okay.
Lucas Malo.
You know what? First things first, Mr. Velveteen Joker. Okay. I'm good. I'm just saying.
Velveteen, baby. Don't hate.
Okay. Listen, Silk Satin, calm down. Okay. So, no, I'm just saying, just popular stuff. It's just, I don't know. When something is really very hyped, I just can't trust it. I just feel like it's just too much. And that's just me. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's just how I feel. And I do agree with Steve that Nirvana, when I heard that from the new Batman, that Nirvana song, I was like, boy, this fits so well. For that new Batman trailer, I was like, wow, this really works. Dope.
You weren't looking for some more Seal?
Yeah, that was a great soundtrack, man. Absolutely. The flaming lips on that with the Jim Carrey part, and man, that is a good, and even the U2 one. It's so like it's of the time, and it was so vivacious, and you're like, wow, 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 wow. You're like, all right, cool, Batmobile. All right,
Okay, Rich, I'm sorry. Anytime that comes on the radio, you have to crank your to 40, open the windows, and you don't care how dumb you fucking look. You can't help just singing that, and in the most exaggerated, soft voice, especially when it gets low. It's like, did you know that when it snows, and then you just, my eyes become light, and just,
you guys see Thunder Force yet on Netflix by any chance? Because there's literally this part.
We've been warned again.
Yeah, it's Angelina says, feel like I'm watching The Big Bang, but ouch, did you just call us old dirty dogs? Haha.
I'd like to think we have better personality and our jokes are better than Big Bang, but fine.
My last name is Cooper, so.
If you say Bazinga but once, okay, I'm gonna.
You like train?
I will tell you. Cut the power. Cut his cord.
I'm more of a Leonard. That's just going back to what you were saying though, Drew, about like the things that get really hyped and popularized and all that. I definitely understand that, and I feel that like from like the counterculture aspects of it too.
Look, he's
out.
Done.
But it's sometimes you have to read through that. And you can see the joy in things. And, I make light about Wonder Woman 84, but it did have some watchable parts. I thought the first part was pretty good. But then there's things like Avatar. I think if we had seen it in 3D, maybe it would have been a different story. But I'm in the same boat as you. I went to Disney last year, and I went to the Avatar world, and I'm like, all right, this is a thing. It wasn't really exciting to me. So sometimes you could see like the artistry and you could see like shiny colors, but it just wasn't really, it's not my thing either. So I understand that aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but what is Bahiga? Someone said that like Bahiga replaces Bazinga, but yeah, Bahiga replaces, listen, we're just going to stick to Thundercats. Okay. The Dorkening. No, that does not.
I like that.
We actually have Larry Kenny saying that. I do have video of that. Steve Jordan says, well, the only thing that might come to mind on the issue of Wonder Woman 84, they might have not had the permission to use any of the 80s music that was planned. So, Matt, it was all good.
In the 3 years of production of that movie, they couldn't have missed this. That was a conscious choice,
Listen, as long as we didn't have whatever the hell is always playing when Wonder Woman is on screen and then the Snyder cut of Justice League. Because I'm sorry, about the fourth time that comes on, I'm just like, I got it. I got it. I understand. Please, can you stop? But just every time it's just the chanting. And I'm just like, this is right up there with Aquaman and his chorus of sweater sniffers. Like, what?
Thank you. Do you hate that too? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's one of those where I'm just like, there's a reason this was cut. Okay, I just want to point that out here.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. Hey, mark.stancil.
Yeah, Mark, check back a couple months back. We actually had Larry on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, you did?
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy.
I feel like you really have to meet someone on a convention circuit on the worst day for them to be such a douche. I mean, we all have douche stories. Let's just be real here. But yeah, but voice actors very rarely are unhappy people. They're so pleasant.
Yeah.
You know,
we just did one with Townsend Coleman. We got him to tell all these wonderful stories about his old Fred Wolf Turtles cartoon days. And I didn't know that he was the voice of Scott Howard on the Teen Wolf cartoon. And
I didn't know.
And I said, I love Teen Wolf. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but to your point, a lot of these guys hang out and they get along and they help each other move, and it's just fantastic.
So, Leo, are we almost at that point? Because I feel like
we're long past that point, but it's such a great conversation. You know, it's just
yeah. So are we doing the rating, the crowbars? You know,
totally. So, Justin, if you're not familiar with it, we do a rating out of 5, and the ratings are in crowbars. And you can use a file to shave off some of a crowbar. So if you wanted to give her a percentage. So why don't we start with you, Justin?
I'm going to go 4. It's definitely far from perfect, but it's the really outrageous moments stick out so greatly that you can't read this book and walk away and not remember some of the key points, which you can go years in a comic book and not have those moments. So I'm going to go 4 out of 5.
Awesome. How about you, Drew?
You know, honestly, I'm going to go the same thing. Honestly, I might even go 4.5. So it's like half an iron crowbar. So, which is like a plier, right? I would go with that. The style is great. I love Scott Snyder. His storytelling, like you can see why he does Batman so well with this. And the artwork is fantastic. It's really it's a wonderful foreshadowing of the mix of Batman love plus horror plus action he would bring in the New 52. So I'm going to go 4.5 crowbars.
Awesome. Velvet Joker.
4.25. Just straight up 4.25. I thought the art was great. I thought the storyline was great. It did have a few holes in it, like we said. But all in all, it was a fun horror comic that, you know, it definitely wasn't pushing 4.5 for me, but there were some definitely key scenes that were sort of integral, even if the New 52 does not still exist.
Awesome. Before I give mine, Angelina says, thank you for another amazing show, guys. Angelina, thank you so much for joining us, as always. And Steve Jordan says, yeah, it's actually from a young lady named Bahiga, was at a concert for Elvis Presley, and the young lady said her name and some of the group of the Clownvis to the rescue show as a greeting, say Bahiga.
Well,
Bahiga.
Bahiga. And Miranda says, have a kick-ass night, guys. Thank you, Miranda. And next week is our show lands on Star Wars Day, May 4th. So we're going to pick a nice Star Wars buck. And for me, I'm going to go 4.2. And absolutely loved it. And yeah, this is definitely ranking up there for one of my favorite Batman stories. Absolutely loved every part of it. And I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. Definitely had a lot of people joining us. And, you know, you guys don't go anywhere except the viewers. And we'll catch you guys next week. We'll actually tune in tomorrow. We got Still Token with, and then the Dorkening. We'll catch you guys later. Bye. Oh, I'm sorry. We forgot.
How many endings is this?
Real quick, Justin, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media, Justin Cooper on Facebook. You can find me on the let's see, on the Dorkening Network, the Geek Life HQ podcast, and also the Epic Tales from the Sewers Ninja Turtles podcast.
Awesome. Drew.
Oh, right, it's me. You can look for me. I'm Drew Mallow on Facebook. I'm Ghostbuster Man 1984 on Instagram if you want to see my cosplay adventures, and I'm also a writer. It really is. It never ends. God, this is like Lord of the Rings with the multiple endings, or Spider-Man 3. And you know, I'm also a writer for Screen Rant. So if you look up Drew Mallow Screen Rant, you can see any of the articles that I make a nice amount of money from anytime someone looks at them. So that's me.
Velvet Joker.
Splash Pages Tuesday nights. Sayonara. Good night.
And for me, just Google Leo Pond. I do a bunch of stuff and I run the network, and we'll catch you guys later.